going on, dudes and dudettes? So I mentioned before, Deuce Robinson could end up being on USC's roster, but he is still taking his time, and it looks like he's going to be taking a little bit longer because he is not going to sign tomorrow, which is the second National Signing Day, or the first, whoever you talk to. But apparently he's going to wait a little bit more because he's kind of still contemplating whether it's certain schools or even a jump to the MLB, because he did have a workout or something like that with the Dodgers. I don't know if he was drafted by them or not, but of course I mentioned this before, that he would be contemplating many things, especially even baseball as well, especially when it comes to the pros. So don't know what it's going to be, but see what happens. I know USC is kind of a lock to get the cornerback Roderick Pleasant from out here in SoCal. I know the wide receiver Jacoby Lane, who was committed during that first signing period in December, they say he could still commit to USC, but I don't know. We'll see. I think he's probably better off going to Arizona State, at least for 1 year, seeing how it goes for him solo. But that's maybe another guy. I know Warren Robertson was a top safety out of Texas that they were looking at, but I think he just took a last-second visit to University of Texas as well, because he was already softly committed to TCU, so he might end up staying close to home either way, especially with that last-second visit, because his last visit was USC until I think the very last weekend he went to Texas, so that sucks losing out on a talented guy like him. And then there are 3 Trojans on the Super Bowl rosters of the 2 teams that are going to be playing in a couple weeks. Obviously, it's the Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And throughout the playoffs, because usually my team is not part of the playoffs, yes, they were this year, but they sucked that first round. So I kind of always go with whoever has the more USC guys left on the rosters to, go for those teams. And apparently it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, because they have the wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster and the running back Ronald Jones II, who was pretty much on their practice squad, but it actually did get some reps and playing time in the last game this weekend. So that was pretty cool to see. But also, the Eagles have the defensive lineman Marlon Tuipulotu. Yes, that name is familiar because his brother just played really well for USC this last season, and he was the guy before, but he got drafted kind of high with Philly, and then he was just on the practice squad a lot this year, and he probably actually won't even be playing in the game just because he did suffer an injury, which sucks. So most likely not going to be playing, and that's only one player for Philly, so I have to go with Kansas City now. Excuse me, I probably was going with Kansas City anyways, but now it's official, so my brother can calm down already. I'm on his side now. And when it comes to Boogie Ellis of USC basketball, yes, he was recently named the Pac-12 Player of the Week because of his big-time performance against big-time rival and number 8 team in the country at that time, UCLA. He was going off. It was one of his better performances, even when he was at Duke for that 1 year. I don't even know if he played at Duke, to be honest, because it was so long ago. I only really remember him playing at Memphis before he came to USC. But yeah, still a Duke and USC guy to some people. So congrats to him. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions of USC as well was recently selected to the Pro Bowl. So that's pretty cool. I don't know how it really, how prestigious this is anymore, because I think even this year the game is gone so far, because usually the guys never really liked playing in the game, not only fear of injury, but really had nothing to play for either. And now it's going to be like a flag football thing, and they've always done this like dodgeball or weird catches, weird skills challenge and stuff they've always done leading up to the game on Sunday, but now it's going to be a full-time flag football game, which is kind of weird, I guess. But 7-on-7 is pretty popular throughout the spring and stuff for high school guys, and that's why I think a lot of guys are better on offense coming out of high school because of those camps and stuff. So we'll see. It could be good, pretty high scoring, probably over 100 points, but we'll see. Then when it comes to Dylan Raiola, yes, he was one of the main guys we talked about in the last video because he's a top quarterback in 2024 who was visiting USC, and apparently that visit went really well because he said Lincoln Riley hardly left his side even for a couple seconds, and it was a good thing because he even left a nice impression on his parents, especially his mother, that they loved him going to the school. And yeah, he says it definitely, the relationship shot way up after that. I think he was on campus for like 8 hours, something like that, for his visit, which is pretty long. But he's also going to a place out in SoCal, pretty much near LA too, and near the campus, where he's going to be training and getting ready for not only his senior year, but beyond as well, just to sure up anything he's going to be working on. And he's literally like right down the street from USC, so they might try to get him on campus as well multiple times even before he makes his final decision, especially if he's maybe leaning towards another school. They could end up trying to get him on campus once again, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, overall it was a great visit according to Raiola himself, and USC looks like they're in the driver's seat, but we have to wait and see, like always with these guys. And then speaking of Tuli Tuipulotu, he was recently invited to the NFL Combine. Kind of weird how they kind of wait to see when to invite people and when not to. He was one of the top, stat-wise sack leaders in the whole entire country this last season for USC, and he's still barely getting invited now. Even Mekhi Blackman, the other couple videos ago, I mentioned, was invited to Indianapolis also, but now Tuli is, and we'll see who else gets invited. Hopefully Jordan Addison will, but who knows if he's 100% healthy or not yet to be able to do that. But I think he definitely needs it just to make sure he's going to be a first-round pick. Then the Anaheim Ducks the other day, right before the All-Star break, ended up beating the Arizona Coyotes 2-1 in overtime. Right now he's been mostly in the G League, and he was actually invited to the Rising Stars Challenge, which is like 2 days before the All-Star game on Friday, where it's usually like the guys who are in their first and second year in the NBA compete and play in a game. Pretty high scoring, a lot of dunks, and showing off a lot of these young guys to the crowds who's going to be there in All-Star weekend, just to show them off. And yeah, a lot of good guys, even Evan Mobley, I saw him as well on that list, ex-USC player also, so that's pretty cool. I think even like another ex-player, Mac McClung, made it. There were a lot of people wondering why Austin Reeves wasn't on there. He is a nice role player for USC, but he doesn't have as much stats or playing as much as those guys, and plus he's been hurt as of late, so I understand why he wasn't invited. And it's still his second year, so he could have been invited. Then yes, speaking about that controversial loss, I should be talking about a Lakers victory over their rival, the Celtics, that happened on Saturday. You go back the last like 10 games or so where the Lakers have been 500, and that's because there were a lot of bad calls in those losses as well. But this one was definitely the worst because they were tied. It was right before overtime, and who knows if LeBron hits both of those. He at least hits one with like less than a second remaining, so Boston probably doesn't make a half-court shot, and then the Lakers come out with a victory. But of course they ended up going into overtime and lost like 125 to 121, and it really wasn't close because Jaylen Brown got the Celtics up 7 quick points because he kept getting fouls called against the Lakers. And that was another thing, the Celtics had like 40 shot attempts with their free throws on fouls, and the Lakers only had about 20. So once again, very big discrepancy in those stats. But overall, I guess people were only going to look at the way LeBron acted and be more upset at that than actually the egregious call, because it's one thing to not call that type of play in the middle of the game, but to not call it on the very last play of the game, which could determine a win or a loss, is bigger in my opinion. So they should have called something, and they even apologized after the refs, but doesn't do anything for the Lakers right now anyways. Then when it comes to Duke, yes, I believe it was Friday or Saturday, most likely Saturday. They played against Georgia Tech, and they've always been kind of up and down. Sometimes Georgia Tech plays them well, sometimes they don't, but this one was definitely a big victory for Duke on the road, 86-43. It was their second largest ACC road victory in their history, so that's pretty cool. A lot of good highlights. Even Kyle Filipowski still played very well. I think he was like 1 rebound short of another double-double, but throughout that point, I think those 2 games that they played last week, he was still named to his 7th Rookie of the Week in the ACC. So that's obviously high praise, and most likely going to win ACC Player of the Year, or definitely the Rookie of the Year, or Freshman of the Year, whatever they call it in college. But yeah, we'll see if he ends up getting the Player of the Year. But it just depends how and where Duke ends up at the end of the season. So that was pretty cool to see. Then Justin Herbert recently posted a picture after his surgery. I guess it was on his shoulder, but the non-throwing shoulder. So all reports are saying that he is going to end up being okay for even the off-season program for the Chargers, which starts probably in a couple months or so, like in March or, April. But that's usually just for a lot of the younger guys, especially when they draft those guys, they want to bring them in as soon as possible. But even last year, a lot of the veterans came in for the Chargers even that early when they're not supposed to or even required to. So it says he should be fine. So it's probably only going to knock him out for maybe 4 weeks, if anything. So at least it's nothing too crazy for Justin Herbert. Then both Zion Johnson and Cameron Dicker, the offensive lineman and kicker for the Chargers, were both named to an all-rookie team, which I guess is pretty good because they did all right selecting those guys and actually picking up Dicker, the kicker, in the free agency pool. But I was kind of surprised that Jamari Sawyer, the offensive lineman who ended up playing left tackle for the Chargers most of the year, was not named to this, especially because he wasn't even practicing and, projected to be that side of the offensive line for the Chargers. And of course, he did pretty freaking well the whole entire year once they lost Slater. So kind of surprised about that. The Chargers did end up firing their linebackers coach Michael Wilhoit. I want to say he played for the Chargers because that last name sounds familiar, but I could be wrong. But the Chargers linebackers have not been progressing as much as they should have been. So definitely not so surprised about this firing, but we'll see who they bring in because a lot of guys are moving around right now. Then when it comes to Kellen Moore, yes, the new offensive coordinator for the Chargers coming from Dallas. I mean, yeah, it's another day to sink in after my little quick video yesterday. And I'm still liking it more and more, obviously, because he has definitely a better quarterback. A lot of people are saying it's a lateral move, but, Herbert has more upside than Dak Prescott, the quarterback in Dallas. So I just think the way his play calling can actually help make Justin Herbert a little bit better, in my opinion. And his offensive stats while he was at the Dallas Cowboys since 2019, they've always been in the top 2 or 4 in all of those categories, whether it's yards, plays, or third down conversions, any of those positive stats. So that's always good to see. Then when it comes to Justin Herbert, yes, he was actually second in total passing yards in the NFL, and his top wide receiver only had 895 yards, I believe, who was Mike Williams, which is your down the field threat. But that's pretty crazy how he still had the second most, and your guy still had under 1,000. Every guy that was on that list had their top receiver, have over 1,000 yards. So that will definitely help in this new Kellen Moore system that I guess Herbert's been used to, especially his first year when Anthony Lynn was there, because I guess it has the same principles and same type of plays and ideas. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And there was a weird little thing too, because apparently these two have worked on a commercial. I don't know what Kendall spokesman, I think it's like some type of insurance or something like that. It was a small commercial that I didn't even see at all, but it had Herbert, the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, some blonde chick, I don't even know, and then the linebacker, Leighton Vander Esch, who was with the Dallas Cowboys. So kind of wondering why there was 2 Cowboys in there, and if Dak Prescott always has commercials. He always had his sleep number bed commercial, that quarterback for Dallas, and they didn't have him as that in there in that commercial. So that's kind of weird, but it's also maybe, foresighting the future that these two are going to end up working together as well. And they obviously have a great relationship too, so that's always good and nice to see. Then when it comes to Travis Barker, yes, I guess according to Drumeo, which is one of the top drumming hit makers out there. Apparently he was named the drummer of the year for 2022. I guess because he was in a bunch of songs and did a lot of good stuff. I don't know how you win those certain type of awards, but congrats to him, I guess. Then when it comes to the TV show The Boys, yes, apparently that is the most watched superhero type of show in all of 2022. With that third season, even with all the Marvel Disney Plus shows added up together, they weren't equaling to the same amount as The Boys, which I think is obviously a better show. Definitely very happy about that. So we'll see. I haven't even watched most of those Marvel Plus or Disney Plus Marvel shows anyways. So congrats to The Boys. So yeah, thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.